Cybill Shepherd wasn't just a Hollywood star, she was a storm in heels with golden hair that glowed like the southern sun and $1 million face. Her debut didn't just impress, it shook Hollywood. She owned the spotlight. Multiple Golden Globe appearances, critical acclaim, and a public that adored her. But the same fame that lifted her soon became the weight dragging her down. Affairs, scandals, and power struggles followed. A relationship with a married director and battles with TV executives pushed her from stardom to near obscurity. Then came the hardest fight off camera, skin cancer. It brought unbearable pain, and the silence of fame fading turned into loneliness. Once too famous to fail, she became too infamous to be forgiven. So what happened to Cybill Shepherd? Why did a star with everything to gain lose it all? In her memoir Cybill Disobedience, she reveals the truth she once hid. Now it's your turn to discover it. Born February 18, 1950, in Memphis, Tennessee, Cybill grew up in a middle-class family. Her father, a businessman. Her mother, a homemaker. Even her name had meaning, Cy from her grandfather, Bill from her dad. She always stood out, blonde hair, fair skin, and bold eyes. She wasn't just pretty, she was fearless. She once skipped school for a modeling audition and never looked back. At 16, she won Miss Teenage Memphis and charmed her way to Miss Congeniality at the national level. That likability opened doors, but also made her vulnerable in an industry that takes as much as it gives. By 18, Cybill Shepherd was already a star in the making. Named Model of the Year, her face appeared on the cover of Glamour, a moment that changed everything. Director Peter Bogdanovich, flipping through a magazine at a supermarket, saw her photo and immediately called her agency. Who is this girl? He needed to know. Weeks later, Cybill landed her very first screen test for the Last Picture Show. It wasn't just her film debut, it was the beginning of a life under the microscope. Cybill didn't ride anyone's coattails. She forged her own path with boldness, ambition, and zero interest in settling for ordinary. That drive made her both admired and feared in Hollywood. Her performance in The Last Picture Show, 1971, directed by Bogdanovich, was electric. Playing J.C. Farrow, a beautiful but emotionally complex young woman, Cybill was untrained but unforgettable. In a now iconic nude scene, she exposed not just her body but her vulnerability. The result? A Golden Globe nomination for New Star of the Year, and the film, 8 Oscar nods, 2 wins, and lasting status as a classic of American cinema. Hollywood had found its next phenomenon. Cybill wasn't just a pretty face, she had presence, power, and a mind of her own. On Moonlighting, producers later admitted that without her, the show's sharp, witty tone wouldn't exist. She helped define its voice and inspired a new era of TV dialogue. But behind the scenes, pressure was building. Cybill and co-star Bruce Willis clashed constantly. What began as creative friction turned into explosive tension. Both were strong-willed, neither backing down. Co-star Curtis Armstrong wrote, "Those two were constantly at odds." Yet the labels weren't equal. Bruce was the fun-loving guy, Cybill difficult. In an interview, she fired back, "When a man raises his voice, he's decisive. When a woman does, she's a diva." While Moonlighting was soaring, Cybill's personal life was shifting. Pregnant with twins, she slowed production, only to be blamed by the media for the show's declining momentum. Meanwhile, Bruce Willis was becoming an action star with Die Hard, and the magic between them on-screen was fading fast. By the final seasons, tensions were unbearable. The writing weakened, the chemistry soured, and in 1989, Moonlighting was cancelled. Outwardly, Cybill was still winning Golden Globes, critical acclaim, TV dominance. But behind closed doors, she faced constant pressure, gender bias, and draining battles with her co-star. Without the tension, the screen wouldn't feel that real, she later admitted. But the emotional toll was heavy. The brighter the spotlight, the darker the shadow behind it. In 1995, Cybill returned with a show named after herself, Cybill. This time, she called the shots. The sitcom followed an aging actress navigating rejection, single motherhood, and a brutal industry. "That character was me," she confessed, saying, "everything I used to hold back, it struck a chord." Cybill tackled themes rarely seen on TV, aging, sexism, motherhood, and loneliness, with biting humor and feminist fire. Critics hailed her as the Lucille Ball of the 90s. The show earned her a third Golden Globe, 12 Emmy nominations, and a spot in CBS's top 20 shows. But behind the success lay betrayal. In 2018, co-star Christine Baranski revealed the real reason for the show's abrupt cancellation. Cybill had rejected a sexual advance from CBS CEO Les Moonves. After she declined his offer for a ride home, he began interfering with the show, then canceled it entirely. Years later, multiple women accused Moonves of misconduct and he resigned in disgrace. Cybill never got an apology, but she never asked for one. "If I had said yes, maybe Cybill would have lasted longer," she said. "But I wasn't here to trade dignity for a few more episodes." But Cybill's story was never just about TV. Before moonlighting, she made her mark on film with standout roles in The Heartbreak Kid and Taxi Driver, known for her ability to convey icy restraint. After taking time off for motherhood, she eased back in with roles on Fantasy Island and later her TV breakthrough. She also pursued jazz. Her 1974 debut album wasn't a hit, but it showed her artistic soul, committed, timeless, and trend-proof. Even after Cybill was cancelled, she never stopped. She appeared in The L Word as a mother supporting her lesbian daughter, and later in Psych, Criminal Minds, and No Ordinary Family. She kept releasing jazz albums, staying true to her voice, never chasing trends. Her life was never defined by a single peak, it was a series of reinventions, each one proof of resilience. In her memoir Cybill Disobedience, she reflected on it all. As a young model in New York, she studied art and anthropology and questioned cultural shame around nudity. That belief gave her the confidence to say yes to the controversial role of JC in The Last Picture Show. At the time, her boyfriend warned, "If you do that scene, I'll never marry you." She did it anyway. They broke up. That moment set the tone for the rest of her life. She chose her passion every time. In her memoir Cybill Disobedience, she faced it all with striking honesty. She wasn't sorry for the wild years or the reckless choices. She refused to apologize for living boldly. But over time, it wasn't chaos that defined Cybill, it was motherhood. The pain of broken relationships softened into purpose as she raised her children. Parenthood became her anchor, her reason, her redemption. After the end of her second marriage and several failed engagements, Cybill turned inward. She found strength in faith and peace in solitude, something she never quite had in her youth. Love, she realized, wasn't just about passion, it was about endurance. And the deepest, most lasting love she knew was the one she had for her children, her friends, and eventually, herself. Even as Hollywood moved on, Cybill carved out a quieter, more meaningful life. She stopped chasing the spotlight and started embracing her scars. Her later years weren't free of struggle. She battled skin cancer and lived for years with undiagnosed pain from IBS. But instead of hiding her pain, she spoke out, breaking taboos around women's health and aging. She became a voice for women dealing with invisible burdens, refusing to let shame silence her. In 2007, an abdominal attack nearly ended her life, but months of recovery became a turning point, a rebirth. Vulnerability became her power. She joined the Great Women campaign, advocated for IBS awareness, and spoke about menopause with refreshing bluntness. At one party, she famously asked a stranger, "How's menopause treating you?" She didn't care if it made people uncomfortable. She knew the silence around aging was far worse. In these candid conversations, Cybill gave women permission to be real, to hurt, to age,